The Xeelee Sequence is a hard science fiction series by Stephen Baxter. It spans billions of years, from the dawn of the universe to its inevitable heat death. Humanity is not the dominant force in the cosmos. The Xeelee, an ancient and godlike race, have been shaping reality since the beginning of time. They are at war with the Photino birds, entities that thrive in dark matter and are reshaping the universe for their survival. For the Xeelee, humans are insignificant. For the Photino birds, they are merely collateral damage. Humanity struggles, expands, and builds, only to be crushed by forces beyond its comprehension. They create immense Dyson spheres, forge weapons the size of planets, but it's never enough. In desperation, they steal a Xeelee ship, an artifact of almost limitless power. But even with this, they are doomed to be mere footnotes in a cosmic war beyond their scale. The universe itself is against them. Even in their final moments, humans fight, not for victory, but for the mere right to exist. The Xeelee Sequence is a dark universe where hope is an illusion, and survival is the closest thing to victory. Left Behind is a series of apocalyptic novels written by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. The story begins with the Rapture, an event where millions of people around the world suddenly disappear. They disappear, leaving behind their clothes, cars, and possessions. Cars crash, planes fall from the sky, and chaos spreads as the world realizes something unexplainable has happened. Airline pilot Rayford Steele is horrified to discover that, after landing, half of his passengers had disappeared mid-flight, their empty clothes left on their seats. At first, people search for a logical explanation: terrorist attack, scientific experiment, maybe even aliens. But soon, a disturbing pattern emerges: only Christians and small children are gone, as if carefully selected. Those left behind face a terrifying truth: this was the rapture, and they are now trapped in the end times. In the midst of the panic, a man rises to power, Nicolae Carpathia, a Romanian politician with an unnatural charm. He speaks every language fluently, wins people's trust effortlessly, and quickly becomes the leader of a new world order. The world needs unity, and I will bring peace. But his peace comes with a price: absolute control. A global currency, constant surveillance, and a mark that determines who can buy or sell. Freedom is gone. The Tribulation Force, a group of believers, realize that Carpathia is no ordinary leader. He is the Antichrist. They fight against Nicolae's rule, knowing their struggle may cost them their lives. Plagues, disasters, and war consume the earth, making survival nearly impossible. Fear and hopelessness spread as people realize they are living in the end times. Left Behind paints a dark universe where deception rules, faith is tested, and the world descends into a nightmare. The Strain is a horror novel written by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, where vampires are not romantic figures but a terrifying plague that spreads like a virus. The story begins when a mysterious plane lands at JFK Airport in New York, with all passengers seemingly dead inside. Dr. Ephraim Goodweather, an epidemiologist from the CDC, is called to investigate this bizarre incident. Inside the plane, he discovers 4 survivors and a mysterious coffin filled with dirt. Soon, the survivors begin to change. They lose their humanity, growing monstrous stingers and an insatiable thirst for blood. These are not ordinary vampires. They are part of an ancient, parasitic species led by the Master, a powerful entity. The Master, an ancient and calculating force, sees humanity as nothing more than cattle. As the infection spreads, New York City descends into chaos, with people fighting not just for survival, but for their very souls: who fights, who hides, and who surrenders willingly. Ephraim joins forces with Abraham Satrakian, an old vampire hunter who has been preparing for this war for decades. They realize that knowledge is their only weapon in the war against an enemy that thrives on ignorance. In The Strain, darkness is not just the absence of light, it is an unstoppable force consuming everything in its path. The Strain is more than a horror story. It is about power, survival, and the thin line between humanity and monsters. The First Law is a grimdark fantasy series by Joe Abercrombie set in a brutal and unforgiving world. The story follows a cast of deeply flawed characters, each struggling to survive in a world of war, political intrigue, and dark magic. Logan Ninefingers, a notorious barbarian, is feared as the Bloody Nine, a warrior whose rage turns him into an unstoppable killer. Sandan Glocta, a once great swordsman, is now a crippled torturer for the Inquisition, consumed by bitterness and pain. Xeelee Dan Luther, a vain nobleman, dreams of glory but finds himself entangled in conspiracies beyond his understanding. The world is ruled by cruelty, and its heroes are far from noble. The Union, a powerful empire, is corrupt and crumbling, beset by enemies on all sides. The Northmen, savage warriors led by ruthless chieftains, seek to claim land and power. The Gurkish Empire, a religious and expansionist force, wages war in the name of their god. Magic is fading, but Baez, the first of the Magi, still holds terrible secrets and untold power. Violence is constant, betrayals are inevitable, and morality is nothing but an illusion. No one is truly good, and everyone has blood on their hands. Glocta's torture chambers, Logan's berserker rages, and Baez's manipulations paint a world as dark as it is enthralling. The First Law is a tale of brutal realism, where power is the only truth. And in the end, even the victors are left broken. This is why the First Law is not just a fantasy story, but a true grimdark universe where hope is just another lie. The Book of the New Sun, written by Gene Wolfe, is a science fiction series set in a decaying future where civilization is on the brink of collapse, and the remnants of humanity struggle to survive. The protagonist, Severien, is a young apprentice in the Guild of Torturers and Executioners, living in a world where cruelty, violence, and death are commonplace, and mercy is viewed as weakness. The world of the Book of the New Sun is filled with ruins of a once great civilization, where advanced technologies have been lost and society has regressed into a brutal, medieval-like existence. There is no longer the usual daylight here. The planet is illuminated by a fading blood-red sun. At night, everything turns painful green in the moonlight of the moon overgrown with greenery. Severien embarks on a journey that forces him to confront dark truths about himself and the world around him. The story is told through Severien's own writings, creating a fragmented and sometimes deceptive account of events. The series is haunted by the constant presence of death, suffering, and decay, with every character and place touched by the shadow of mortality and despair. The Book of the New Sun explores the darker aspects of human nature, questioning the true cost of power, justice, and redemption. The world is populated by strange creatures, both human and non-human, and the line between the two often blurs, adding to the overall sense of unease and the uncanny. The series includes elements of horror, with terrifying creatures, ancient gods, and the ever-present threat of annihilation, making it a truly dark and unsettling experience. The Book of the New Sun is widely regarded as one of the most complex and philosophical works in modern speculative fiction, with its dense and thought-provoking narrative filled with darkness, mystery, and moral quandaries. Brave New World is a novel by Aldous Huxley. In the future, the world has become stable and happy. Wars, hunger, and diseases are things of the past. But people have paid for this harmony with their freedom. Children are not born but grown in laboratories and divided into castes from birth. Alphas are leaders, betas are administrators, and gammas, deltas, and epsilons make up the working class. The lower the caste, the simpler their thinking. Families are forbidden, and emotional attachments do not exist. Instead of love, there are free relationships, and instead of emotions, there is a drug called soma that brings ease and pleasure. People work, rest, and entertain themselves, never asking unnecessary questions. But Bernard Marx feels like an outsider. He is an alpha but different from the others. Searching for something real, he travels to a reservation where people live by old laws. There, he meets the savage, a young man, raised without technology, but with books and traditions of the past. The savage enters the civilized world, but does not accept it. He cannot understand how one can live without love, pain, or the right to choose. I want to be unhappy. The system does not fight rebels, it absorbs them. Here, no one is executed, only corrected. If you don't fit in, you are simply isolated. You cannot be unhappy if you do not know what pain is. You cannot fight if you have no desires. This is not just a dystopia, it is a world where people willingly gave up their freedom for comfort. The Dark Tower, created by Stephen King, is a dark fantasy series set in a world where time is broken and the protagonist, Roland Deschain, embarks on a quest to find the legendary Dark Tower. The series blends elements of horror, science fiction, and western, creating a unique, grim world where forces of good and evil clash in a battle for control of the universe. Roland's journey is filled with betrayal, loss, and the search for meaning in a world that seems to be decaying, driven by a mysterious force known as the Crimson King. Through his trials, Roland is forced to confront the darkness within himself, as well as the external forces threatening to destroy everything he holds dear. The world of the Dark Tower is bleak, filled with ruined cities, desolate landscapes, and supernatural creatures, making it one of the darkest literary universes ever created. In this world, the laws of reality are warped, and the line between life and death is often unclear, creating a sense of unease and dread throughout the series. Roland's relentless pursuit of the Dark Tower symbolizes a search for hope in a world on the brink of collapse, but also raises questions about destiny and free will. The series has captivated readers with its complex characters, philosophical themes, and its blend of genres, making it a masterpiece of dark fantasy. The Dark Tower has inspired a wide range of adaptations, including comics, a film, and video games, further expanding the reach of this dark universe. Despite its bleakness, The Dark Tower remains a powerful exploration of the human condition, examining the themes of perseverance, redemption, and the battle against fate. The Hunger Games is a dystopian novel series written by Suzanne Collins. The story takes place in Panem, a country that rose from the ruins of North America. Panem is ruled by the capital, a wealthy city that controls 12 poor districts. Every year, the capital forces each district to send 2 teenagers to fight to the death in the Hunger Games. The main character, Katniss Everdeen, volunteers to take her sister's place in the games. Before the games begin, she promises her sister, "I will try to win for you." Katniss teams up with Peeta Mellark, a boy from her district, to survive. The games are broadcasted as entertainment for the capital's citizens. President Snow, the ruthless ruler of Panem, warns, "Hope. It is the only thing stronger than fear." As the games progress, Katniss becomes a symbol of resistance against the capital. Her defiance sparks a rebellion that spreads across all districts. Hamish Abernathy, her mentor, advises, "You have to win their hearts." The capital uses fear, violence, and terror to control the districts, ensuring they remain weak and divided. The districts are kept in extreme poverty, with food and resources strictly rationed. Meanwhile, the capital's citizens enjoy luxury, oblivious to the suffering of the districts. In defiance, Katniss and Peeta threaten to eat poisonous berries, forcing the capital to declare them both winners. The brutal world of the Hunger Games shows how power can be maintained through fear and manipulation. Even after the rebellion, the struggle for true freedom is far from over.
Now try clicking on the next video before I finish counting. 3, 2, 1, you lose.